We have got a great spread here, isn't it awesome? It's a smorgasbord. Welcome back to Table Talk. This is episode, I think it's 4. I've really lost count at this point. Now, if you guys are still watching or listening,
he's
gone. Donnie's gone.
Donnie's gone.
We're here. We're live and in color.
Donnie's out. He's checked out.
We're live and in color.
If you are still listening at this point or watching 4 episodes in, you have not checked out. Kudos to you.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Give you guys the Medal of Honor. No, but we're here for Table Talk. I'm Billy. Got Donnie and Brian and Sheldon at the table with me. Just a bunch of chucklehead pastors. So last episode, we talked about, we've been in this 13-week series with parables. Kudos to anybody who's got double digits in those sermons. Like you've attended church for 10 out of 13 weeks, maybe. We're not done with them yet. We've still got, I think when this airs, there's 2 weeks left or something. But we're in this parable series. This is all about stories that Jesus told, why Jesus told stories, how those have affected us. And I know in the last episode we talked about, like, when we have preached these parables, some of them may have preached to us and broken into our lives in crazy ways before they get to the audience from the pulpit, the stage. And then some of them are just ones that we really like, we really enjoy. So, and I know we talked about Good Samaritan, just a bunch of those ones that kind of stick out in our minds. Today, we're not going to talk about parables necessarily, but I do want to talk about stories because everybody loves stories. So I'm curious from you guys. When you guys were growing up, big movie watchers?
Yes.
Book readers?
Yes.
Or book listeners?
There was no such thing back then.
When Sheldon was born, there was no such thing as the telephone or the color TV. So.
In South Africa.
What games did you and
As I
Moses
was
play?
riding my elephant to work.
Grew up in poverty in Cape Town.
Poverty of a country club. Anyway.
No, but for us growing up, I'm curious if there were... What are there books or TV shows or movies that stick out in your mind that were like just staples in your childhood and or like high school, college? Even though Donnie and I are just a couple years out of high school and college, but
I mean, I growing up, one of the first books that I ever really connected with was like reading Robinson Crusoe, like this adventure, outdoor, that kind of stuff. First movie I ever watched in the movie theater was The Goonies.
What?
That was the first time
classic.
I ever watched
Hey,
Can you do the truffle shuffle?
I can, I'm doing it Sunday.
Good.
At
All right.
church. Don't miss it.
Everybody's favorite character from the Goonies.
Chunk.
Yeah.
Has to be.
It has to be. Yeah.
What's the little Asian kid that sets up booby traps? What's his name?
It's the
Josh,
kid
do you
from
remember?
Temple of Doom. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't remember
forget
what
his-
it is.
If you're out
he's
there,
short round.
He's short
and-
round. That's how I know him. But
The pre-short round. I don't know.
That's his name in the movie, Short Round?
No. That's in Indiana Jones.
Oh,
Yeah, his name changed by the time he did Star Wars.
listeners, you hate me. You're like, Billy doesn't know anything about movies.
Yeah.
All right, so
No,
Goonies.
Goonies was good, but I love I like action adventure. I mean, I grew up in the days of like the early James Bond movies, which are so. I kind of like movies that are a little bit unrealistic. So in other words, like here's James Bond with his Walther PPK with 7 shots, and there's 12 guys with automatic weapons, and he magically kills all of them. You know, it's there's this level of I don't know, this level of the impossible that makes movies entertaining and fun and all the rest of it. But I don't like horror movies. I enjoy a good comedy, like if I'm going to laugh at something, but movies that have somewhat of an impossible side to them is what makes them, like the fact that they're unbelievable and out of reach. And the early Jean-Claude Van Damme, like he's going to walk in and, just annihilate everybody. I don't know. I still sort of enjoy some of those, but I like movies that make you think. I like movies that kind of drive something deeper, that it's not just straight up and down. I think a lot of action movies are just, it's kind of like watching a Hallmark
very
movie.
predictable. And
Who I was looking for was right in front of me the whole time. And I mean, while that's sometimes fun and nice because you don't have to think in those, my movie selection has changed, but I do like a good action movie. I'll watch every James Bond movie. I do like those.
Yeah.
I'll make sure my wife doesn't listen to this so she doesn't hear you poo-poo on Hallmark movies. She loves them.
Mine too.
I loathe them,
Yeah,
but she loves them.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat.
Like Hallmark movies in general, or
Yeah,
like
you
especially
got the girl from the big city,
Especially
you got the boy
like
from the small
Christmas.
town,
Yep.
and then she leaves the life of New York.
And every Hallmark movie has the exact same plot. If you
single
watch it,
one.
it's the
And
same
Jane
thing.
Seymour is either the main character or the mother or the grandmother.
Yeah. If you like them, that's so good for you. I'm so happy.
Yeah,
That's what Jesus would
absolutely.
want.
That's right.
Growing up for me, it was Star Wars. Had to be. I mean, it was just exactly.
all of them, or are you like, no, there's certain ones.
Sequels don't exist.
No, let's
Not
be
canon.
purists. Original trilogy only. This
Really?
is out.
Sorry,
No,
Jar
first-
Jar Binks, wherever you are.
First movie that I ever saw, my dad took me to a drive-in. We watched the original Star Wars, and then we went back. I think it was because they had brought it on a rerun because Empire Strikes Back was getting ready to come out. So I saw Star Wars at the drive-in, and then I think maybe like 6 months or something like that later, we went and saw Empire Strikes Back in the theater. And there's something about having all the toys and playing with them as a kid. I still have them in a bucket in the basement. They're probably worth, I don't know, hundreds of dollars by this point, but they're toys. That's what they're meant to be. You create our own stories in the backyard with these toys. That's what you did with them. But
You create your own fan fiction.
that's right. Yeah, absolutely. So, but that story for some reason just kind of spoke to me. It's really the mythical story structure, the hero's journey. Here's a hero, and he has everything taken away from him, and then he goes on this quest to find the princess, who's his sister. Spoilers.
What kind of podcast is this?
And his villain is his father. I mean, it's the statute of limitations is
space
run out
soap
on
opera.
time now here. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a space soap opera.
Family drama.
Yeah.
So wonderful stuff. But no, Star Wars always spoke to me for some reason. It was fantastical, and it was, it was this larger than life story. And on TV growing up, we always had the Saturday morning cartoons. And it was like you'd get your breakfast cereal and you'd go sit in front of the television, and it was like from 8 o'clock to noon, you're watching G.I. Joe and He-Man, and it was like it's just this marathon
Thundercats,
of stories.
baby.
Yeah. Oh,
Original
there we go.
Thundercats.
No,
You know what?
I'm so glad you like it. I just have no context for it. It was before my time.
Well, we'll get it to you. You can have context for it.
Pull up my VHS.
Yeah,
My
exactly.
VCR.
But no, it was always Star Wars for me. Book wise, I read a whole lot, but I can't really put my finger on like one series or a book that really spoke to me out of that. I love to read. I still love to read, but not one specific book that I can point to.
I had to do a lot of internal like memory searching for the right book because I do not like to read. Never have liked to read. Well, I probably
Somebody
still
listening is going to be like, they didn't say the Bible.
no. I mean,
My
That answer
favorite
doesn't
story
count, okay?
is the Book of Daniel.
the Bible might be one of the only like books that like I've read significantly outside of maybe four or five different ones. And most of the books that I've read, like since I've been in ministry, were like the ministry inspired or like professional like development type of thing.
For sure,
They're not
yeah.
like story based
or The Shack.
I had to read The Shack in college. Didn't read the whole thing, and I read the whole thing maybe like
Cliff
6
Notes.
years ago.
Cliff Notes.
Yeah, he was good.
No, I have to piggyback off of what Brian said. Star Wars. If you've never seen
Yeah.
Star Wars, what are you?
Yeah,
what are
where-
you doing?
where are
like,
you?
We need to.
This is the
New
Holy Spirit
series,
convicting you
Star
right
Wars
now.
in the Bible. No,
Real to real, 2026.
but for me,
Hey now, yes, real to real.
for him, it was original trilogy. For me, it's the prequels. Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prequels, okay.
Yeah.
Sequels,
Sequels,
Get
let's
that
just
outta here.
throw them away. Except
Get it
Last
outta here.
Jedi. I actually like that. I know.
What
Hot
movie
take.
is Babu Frick in?
Rise of Skywalker. He's in episode 9.
He's in.
Yeah.
So
Not a Star Wars nerd.
That's what
Right.
that's what I'm here for.
Totally.
So for me, it was that one, particularly Revenge of the Sith, and then the Harry Potter series. And there's two particular moments. The first one is Goblet of Fire. When Cedric Diggory, he passes away. He's killed by the Avada Kedavra spell by evil person, Lord Voldemort.
Spoilers.
And Harry brings him back via Portkey. It's this big competition. All of a sudden, everybody's celebrating because the 2 Hogwarts characters won this big giant competition. And then all of a sudden, people realize that Cedric is not alive. And then you see his father running through the crowd as people are celebrating, and he's crying, my son, my boy. And we now have a son, and that just rips me.
That's very Luke 15.
Yes.
Yeah. Second one is when Sirius Black gets killed, spoiler alert, in Order of the Phoenix, because Harry and Sirius are both on this journey of trying to discover who they are because they've had such significant loss. I don't know. I love the series. I actually just listened to the audiobook, so that's probably my book right now, along with Lord of the Rings, because what you see in Harry Potter is like it's marked by sacrifice for another. Harry's mom sacrifices her life so that he can live. And then you see these people sacrificing their lives just so that they can defeat the ultimate evil in the story. And it's like, oh, there's something about that. Oh, breaks me.
There's some family not so dysfunctional as like Star Wars.
Yeah. Although Star Wars is a complete redemption arc.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, it
it's
is.
all
Yeah,
about,
100%.
Coming back and
Throw
it's-
Sidious down that well.
yeah.
If you know, episode 6.
You know, you know.
You know.
I'm going to throw one out there that I think nobody, I'm not sure any of you guys have seen it, and somebody out there may have seen it, but has anybody seen The Brave Little Toaster?
Years
Yes,
ago.
but so long ago, I
Years
barely
ago.
remember it.
Josh knows what I'm talking about. So here's my hot take. Brave Little Toaster is the OG Toy Story. I'm just going to,
That's a hot
the
take.
appliances, when the master leaves or is asleep, they come to life, and then the master leaves. They think that a little bit of a mixture of like Toy Story plot and Homeward Bound. It's almost like a little bit of an OG Homeward Bound too, except not pets. It's like toaster and vacuum and blankie. Yeah, I kind of reminisced over that last night when I was thinking of some of these things, and I'm like, oh, the Brave Little Toaster, like, yes. They've got to leave the house and, navigate through junkyards and forests and all this stuff to find, their master. And I was always very scared of the window AC unit that would come to life and like, like every time I'd go in a house and
Like
see a window AC unit, I'd be like, it's going to eat me.
It's like the furnace in Home Alone.
Oh.
Yes.
It comes on there at the...
Is anybody else afraid of their basement because of that scene from Home Alone? Because it's me.
I'm afraid of my basement because of Goosebumps.
And the house that we just moved into, the furnace is very loud when it turns on. So when it turns on, I'm like, oh no. Yeah, no, I've never been a big book reader, but one that I do remember from when I was in high school, other than the Goosebumps books, love those when I was in like middle school, high school, Everybody else is reading those in elementary, but I'm like, these are
amazing.
no. There's this Christian author named Frank Peretti, and he wrote a book that was kind of like this, not conspiracy, but it was almost like this scientific, like social thriller. Well, it was called Hangman's Curse. So this was about. This hoax was going on at this school, and so these government agents, they actually sent their kids as like undercover agents into the school to be like plants, to be, hey, we've got to investigate, figure out who in the student body or who like on staff is doing all these things, and it was just it was a really cool read for me. And then it's like one of the only books that I've ever read before I saw the movie, and there's a movie with it, and I'm like, the movie's not as good as the book.
Usually aren't.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
so true.
Being very visual, and I've always liked also, you can see a movie in like 90 minutes and the book would take me like 6 hours to read. And I'm just like, but are there any books that stick out in you guys' mind? Not the Bible, because, no, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's the Sunday school answer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, read the Bible,
The Book of
Jesus, pray, that's...
The Purpose-Driven Life. No.
Yeah.
I would say Lord of the Rings series as a whole, I cried after I shut the book on Return of the King. Oh, there was something about, and I use this in sermons, I use this in conversation, but it's the story of Saruman, the evil wizard. And there's this moment where in the movies, they off him. which is wild, not true to the books. But in the books, he loses all his power. Like he can't do anything anymore. And they've defeated everyone. You know, they destroyed the ring. They're heading back to the Shire. The hobbits are with Gandalf and that sort of thing. They see Sauron, and he's kind of this, you know, crumpled old man who is weak and frail. And they kind of start making fun of him. And Gandalf goes, "Don't do that, because he doesn't have any power, but he can do a lot of damage with his tongue." They get back to the Shire. Sauron has taken over the Shire and made them all his servants simply based on fear of what he said he would do. And it's like, is that not the enemy? Like, lost all power and yet can still do a lot of damage.
Absolutely.
Not to bring it back to being Christianese and Christian, but Lord of the Rings is great.
Yeah, it is. For me, I remember reading Roald Dahl books. So, like, you know, we had Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You've probably seen that. Willy Wonka. I mean, that's Roald Dahl. He wrote that. So, Big Friendly Giant, the BFG, James and the Giant Peach. That's the one I remember reading as a child. And here's this boy, and he grows up with these two horrible aunts because his parents are involved in this terrible automobile accident. And his aunts are absolutely awful to him. And so he just dreams of escaping one day from his aunts and going and seeing the world, and because they keep him locked up in the house. And he gets there's like this peach, and it begins to grow, and it grows so massive that they like start charging people to come and see this peach that has grown. And one day, James goes out, this boy, to the peach, and he finds that it's so big that you can actually go inside of it. And he goes inside the pit and the peach, and you know, there's this whole story, and the peach gets away and it crushes the ants. And it's really this tragic, awful thing. But Roald Dahl never minces words with things or cares about his characters. It's this fantastic imagination of this boy that just breaks free, and the freedom that is experienced, and the journey and the adventures he has in learning to care for people, even though they're not people, they're giant insects.
Right.
The movie's awesome.
I have never seen the movie because I was such a purist.
I wore that VHS down.
VHS.
Like, I
For those of you
wore
listening, the
that
VHS
down.
is a.
It was
It looks like a book, but it's not.
That's true.
Be kind, rewind.
Yeah.
Be kind, rewind.
Did you guys ever have the machine that you just pop it in?
Yeah, it was automatic.
Rewind?
Yeah, back at the
ours is just
Blockbuster.
built in.
You know,
I thought you had to do it, you know, with your hands, just like.
Finger, yeah. The pencil and the cassette tape.
yeah. Blockbuster, not a sponsor, will not be a sponsor.
Never again.
Yeah, I in earlier years, you kind of read adventure stuff. I really like biographies, autobiographies. The autobiography of some of it, Martin Luther King Jr. is pretty phenomenal. Reading, I read one about this guy that had some African heritage that was all about saving the rhinos and kind of the elephants. I can't remember the name exactly. My dad gave me the book, and I remember reading it, and every night it was like one of those you looked forward to engaging in the story. And then when I was finished with the book, you know, as everyone does, it's like when you watch shows, you look up this actor or actress on Wikipedia and you read about them, where they're really from, and you know, all the rest. And I remember I got to the end of that book and I finished it, and then like the last page of the book, I don't know how I'd kind of missed it, but like the last page of the book, it was like, well, sadly, like he died, and I remember feeling a sense of like, because he's so alive in the story, and I didn't know that he had passed away like 5 years earlier. And it bothered me for several days. And I was like, oh man, like I thought it was going to be like, hey, and he's living out his days, and, you know, still has his dog and whatever else. But there's something about the power of, I prefer real stories than make believe now. I like stuff that has a element of, and that's maybe why I like some darker movies that are not everything comes with a ribbon and a bow. That it's like sometimes the heroes die, or they. It's
like watching documentaries or reading like memoirs.
Yeah,
I'm big on memoirs right now.
Yeah, like I said, I love a good action movie when I want to kind of escape reality a little bit, and everybody wins. But I find more connection, and the things that affect me more are the ones. I mean, it's amazing. Comedies are great, but tragedies, you know, it's kind of like the end of Titanic. There was always this big like, you know, what if Jack didn't die? And I'm like, the reason why the movie has power is because he dies. Because it's so close and so there, and he's gone. And that's what gives the story immense power.
I think Armageddon's better, but true story.
Yeah, maybe.
Bruce Willis dies in the back of an asteroid, detonating the.
Yeah, what a way to go.
What?
And the fact that they've landed and done everything. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Man, poor Bruce Willis. What he's going through right now, though, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh. No, yeah, I think it's really cool for us to reminisce on some of the movies that either we've really been entertained by, we enjoyed the storyline. Maybe there's something relatable to it, or something that gives us like some of us are excited about the hope. Some of us are excited about the journey and development that a character goes on. Have you guys ever watched? And I mean, the same could apply to books too. Because I know there's some book series like Lord of the Rings where like you really connect with a character in it, and you can't wait till like the next book to see like the journey a certain character is going to go on. But I even think about like movies. I will, like, if I watch a movie and it's really good and I really like a particular actor or actress, I'll do the IMDb thing and figure out like what other movies are these people in. And sometimes it's fun when they play like a similar character with similar mannerisms. Like Nicolas Cage seems to play like the same character like in all of his movies.
Nicolas Cage in every movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you take like Jason Bateman, he suddenly started playing these very odd roles or different roles or darker roles, and it's cool. Well,
Because Johnny Depp's very similar. Johnny Depp has like this wide array of, or one of my favorite actors is Joaquin Phoenix, and he's
the guy from The Joker, right?
Yeah.
Love that movie.
or the
I know him from Gladiator.
or
but
the odd estranged
Joker, okay.
uncle from the movie Signs. If anybody has seen Signs, you know
Yes.
about the aliens. But I mean, like sometimes I'll do that, and I'll follow a character or follow an actor into other movies, and it's really cool when you can catch like, oh, this part of how he or she acts out this in this movie, it's a similar mannerism that connects this character to almost that character. And I know they're not supposed to be the same, but sometimes that's the way that I see it.
I think that shows and movies that balance character development and story plot, you got to have both of those things for it to be good. Because a lot of like Netflix binge shows become all about character development, and the story it's like, you know, the first 2 seasons are just awesome, and then season 3, 4, and 5 it just kind of dies
Because they're not all written. They're not all written beforehand. They gotta
correct.
They almost they have to, like a communicator. You read the room and you read the audience, and you try to figure out like what is going to get people to stay engaged with this, and then they're writing the story as they go, which is also very interesting because shows that go a long time and still captivate you after what 7, 8, 9, 10 seasons. Sorry, Walking Dead. Like Walking Dead lost me after like 6 or 7 seasons, but I say that, but have you guys ever seen 24? 10 seasons of 24.
That's exactly the show I was just thinking of. It's funny that you mentioned that, you know, and Jack Bauer and what he goes through in that. It's both character and plot driven because the plot moves the story forward, but it's more about the shaping of the character and what he goes through.
Have you gone and watched other Netflix or movies that have Kiefer Sutherland in it?
From time to time. I'm not the world's biggest Kiefer Sutherland fan, but I love him in that role. You know, it's like Keanu Reeves and John Wick. I love Keanu Reeves as John Wick, but to me, he's always going to be Ted Theodore Logan from Bill and Ted. So it's like, you know, I can't, or Neo in The Matrix. That's who I see. I don't see John Wick, even though I love the John Wick movies. You know, it's more character driven. But 24, that the plot is driven by the ticking clock, and yet it's more character based.
Kiefer Sutherland in Designated Survivor is like this meek, mild, like kind of timid. You're the last resort in case everything goes haywire, and then he is put in that position. And I'm expecting him like beat people up and, you know, have this confidence, and like
And he
his
can't make a decision.
his character doesn't do that, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like it's both fascinating, but at the same time like kind of disappointing. But it made that show really great for me because I'm like, come on, you are Jack Bauer, you know. I kind of wanted to ask you guys like maybe your top 3 favorite movies or TV shows. Put them both in there. But Instead, I'm going to do it a different way. What is one specific movie, and we can pick either from childhood or for like all of our life. What's a specific movie that has had a very strong impact on just inspiring you, or I don't know if a movie has changed your life or changed your outlook on something, but a movie that's done that. So it's more than just I watched this, I could watch it 20 times, but like a movie that you watched it and you were extremely moved by it.
All right, so I'm gonna get sappy for a second.
Yes.
We're almost to Christmas time. I know we haven't hit Halloween yet by the time we're recording this podcast, but
Hocus Pocus?
yeah, no, it's not.
Oh.
So
Classic.
Christmas season's coming up. Everybody's got different memories and things tied to the Christmas films, But for me, it's always It's a Wonderful Life. The Jimmy Stewart It's a Wonderful Life. They have a colorized version, so I mean, it's like you can go and watch it, not only in black and white but in color now. So it's no excuse for you kids that are staying away from the black and white version films. Okay, that's what I grew up with. I'm a purist, but it's fine.
Black and white is the way to go.
But no, the story of It's a Wonderful Life, and how that all goes through with George Bailey, growing up and affecting so many different people and really changing the course of everybody's life. And then when situation goes bad for him, he makes a wish that he would just never be born. And he's given a glimpse into what the world would have looked like had he not been a part of it, had he not been there to save people's lives, to make a difference and help someone out, or be generous to somebody. And it's really an incredible perspective into the people that we affect around us daily, the decisions we make, the choices we have, and we think, well, it's just internal, it's just us. We're the only ones making this decision. We're the only ones affected by it. But no, it actually has repercussions that really go out into other people's lives, and other people are changed forever because of the decisions that we make and the actions that we take. And he's given this incredible glimpse into what the world would have been like had he not been there to make those decisions and to affect those people in a fun, charming, romantic, humorous way. It's really a phenomenal movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It is a difference maker. It's on my top 10 list of films of all time. So
top 10er.
And it's an older one too.
Yeah.
So
I have two that are like tied that have like inspired me. The first one, Haley Joel Osment is, I don't know where he is now. I feel like he was in a couple movies and then like you didn't see him anymore. And it's not
he was just in Happy Gilmore too.
No way. Are you for real?
No, I'm
I'm gonna have to go rewatch that because that was fantastic and I didn't even realize it. No, and it's not The Sixth Sense, even though that's inspiring also. I see dead people. Pay It Forward is a very inspiring movie. And I think that it's most inspiring, kind of like what you were talking about, Sheldon, where I don't know if this is, I don't actually recall if it's based on a true story or not, but the story just kind of follows the life of this little boy. And the movie is called Pay It Forward because he when you do something for somebody else that they can't pay you back for it, and he ends up dying in the movie, and I don't know why I'm a little bit of like a sap for like when the movie is not incredibly hopeful in the way that sometimes you want it to be, but it's impactful in ways you didn't realize that it could be. But it's a really good movie. The second one is Frequency. So also not a obviously not a real life or not a true story, because you can't talk to yourself in the past through these radios. But it's Dennis Quaid and Jim Caviezel, and you have father from the past talking to his grown-up son in the future, and they talk to each other, and One is basically like the son in the future is basically like telling dad like, hey, here's some of the things that happened, and like at some point like you die, and one's a cop, one's a firefighter, and they kind of have this interaction back and forth. But not only do they reconcile some of the things that like, hey, how do I stop my dad from dying? How do we save like mom from, there was a point where, mom is a nurse and she might be murdered by this guy who is a serial killer or whatever. But it's this like reconciliation and redemption of like the father son, the family relationship. And I don't know, I've always been a big sucker for like when there is like that family dynamic and there's family tension and family brokenness, and that's fought for and brought back together. Even though in all the midst of that, there's like, oh no, like, are they going to be able to save somebody and are they not going to be able to save somebody? But yeah, those are two to just kind of like, I'll go back and rewatch those anytime. Not like, not the same way that you'll rewatch, like, I'm a huge fan of The Office, but
Love The Office.
Yeah.
Dwight's the best. No, I have to be honest. When I watch movies, most of the time, I actually don't watch it to be inspired, and I actually kind of don't. It's every movie's an escape, but I don't necessarily watch it to like escape into another world. For me, I'm very similar to some of what has been said of I love when movies don't end happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Or it's just very real. Like in the sense of like, this is what happened. And you're like waiting for the relief of like, yeah, but guess what? Then the guy comes in and woo, like every movie on Pure Flix ever. Rather,
Wow.
I love Pure Flix, by the way. Great, God's Not Dead.
Facing the Giants.
Actually had that on DVD as a kid. I love that movie. Fireproof, awesome. But I love it when like main character dies or like something tragic happens because
Even the Passion of the Christ. I mean, he raises from the dead.
yeah, gosh darn it. But I love it because I feel seen in the sense of like those are things that we experience in life, and I feel like okay, I'm not crazy in that sense. Now, one that will make me cry, one that has inspired me was actually out of the blue. It came out my senior year of high school, McFarland, USA. If you've never seen it.
True story, too.
Oh my gosh. It's a redemption story for the coach. It's an enmeshment of two different cultures coming together and figuring out how do we do this thing together?
Have you guys seen it?
I think it's been a minute, but
It's about a cross-country team.
Yeah,
out in
yeah.
California.
Cross-country team in
yeah.
California. and
Yeah.
They brought in a coach. And
Yeah, and
you
was
think,
he's
that
like-
with Kevin Costner?
Yeah, he's like from Idaho, and
He was
he's
the
like,
coach.
was it Kevin Costner or Dennis Quaid? I think it was Costner.
no idea. You guys are naming all these actors and actresses, and I'm like, but he's a coach from Idaho, and the normal stereotype of Idaho, good old farm boy,
Yeah,
comes
Cameron.
into
Yeah, I
like
remember that.
inner city Latino community in California,
Yeah, that's
and they have to figure out how do they come together. And we watched it like a couple months ago, bawling like a baby.
Well, and
If you've seen Glory Road, it's a very similar story to Glory Road with the Texas Western championship team in the 60s.
well, mine is the same as Don. It's not that everybody has to die at the end, but I like the. I'm not
Mine
quite
it
there
does.
yet.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
But-
I'm kidding.
But no, I like movies that have a tension in them that you have to wrestle with a little bit.
Yeah.
Like a couple of the movies, and it's not that I watch these all the time, but I enjoyed kind of the movie versions of like the Mandela story because I lived through that,
Yeah.
but I didn't know all that part of the story. I was way too young in some of that stuff. The movie Invictus, which was about the Rugby World Cup that happened. I was a senior in high school in 95 when that actually happened. And I lived through that and watched, 94 was the first time there was a country. Come on,
Get
Donnie,
it, get it, man,
Donnie,
get it,
get the fly.
Get it.
Yes!
Oh, yeah.
You have to kill it.
You didn't kill it. You stunned it.
Okay. Yeah. See, death.
Death and destruction.
Death and destruction.
That's a huge
But
There is no
fly, bro.
happiness.
That is a big
If you're
fly.
listening on the audio version of this podcast, Donnie has just destroyed a huge fly on the table.
And Sheldon got one earlier.
I did,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's two.
So I don't know. I like stuff that actually gives voice or gives perspective to something that was happening that we maybe didn't see at the time. But one of the great movies that I did like, I think it's a classic for people, was Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because the ironic thing is when I was a junior in high school, South Africa went through a lot of changes, but our schools only integrated to be black and white inclusive, and I was at boarding school. in 1993 or 93 or 93 or 94. And so I actually roomed my junior and senior year. I roomed with a black guy who he and I became great friends. And Remember the Titans is, yes, it's a story about football and doing great things together, but it's also a story about how life happens. And remember, even at the end of that story, it's coming together through death. I mean, there's the loss of a teammate, there's the loss of these other things. And it's not about football, and it's not about, the coach wins everything. And it's just about that hardship. And I don't know, maybe there's something about, it's kind of like the antithesis of what we're told when we go into ministry. We're told when you go into ministry, you're going to be amazing and it's going to be wonderful.
Absolutely.
And yet,
Sunshine
the story
and rainbows.
the story of Jesus tells his disciples, okay, look, if you guys start following me, it's going to get really bad.
Yep.
And we kind of miss that. And that's part of why, I mean, we've had conversations, I know I'm maybe getting off track here, but we've had conversations even about things like baptism or communion. We always want the rainbows and the unicorns and the ribbons. And we want everything to feel good at the end. But the call is the call to die and the call to tension. And I mean, the story of our lives, is it not that the winning is in the dying? That when you die at the end of the story, then you know the story is won. And it's kind of countercultural to what we think. It's like, well, when you win the presidential race, or when you become the Hall of Famer, or when you, and it's just so
and then the
counter.
screen fades out.
Yeah,
and you're just,
And this is why movies like Gladiator and Braveheart are so powerful.
Braveheart's
because
so good.
both of those movies involve a main character who sacrifices himself so that people can be free. I mean, it's the story. It's the Jesus story that is told over and over and over again through the medium of film or fiction or something like that.
I was just going to say, going back to Titanic, there was room on that door in the water.
I did see someone point out online, they're like, so this lady had a fortune for her whole life, never told her husband, is broken up about this boy that she met for like a day, and then decides to just throw all of it away in front of a crew that's been searching for this thing. Like, that's their life's work.
But she dies that night, so she's at the end of her story.
Clearly.
It's crazy.
In fact, that's probably what kills her. She throws it over.
Yeah. And then she gets to dance in the Titanic.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. You know, that's actually what started
It's
my
what
life.
Jesus would want.
That's what started my life. My parents went to go see that movie the day before I was born. So,
Oh, boy.
in
Dang.
theaters. Wow. 1998, baby.
Well, you just got a new nickname. We're going to call you Titanic from now
I'll
on.
take it. I'll take it. I receive it.
And we
I
all
receive
heard a
it.
sermon today. Let's
That's right.
let's be kind.
No, well, hey, to kind of cap off this episode, we don't have to share our stories. I was actually going to ask us to each kind of give a little 1 to 2 minute glimpse of, like, excuse me. When we think about stories, I think that we should think about our story way more often. Not in how we try to maybe script it to make it sound more appealing than it is, like what God has done in our life. But when I think about it, especially some of ours where there is this realistic, like, death, there's this redemption of something. Stories are what captivate people. And most people are not going to be captivated, kind of like in your sermon, what you talked about, Donnie, like, people aren't going to be captivated by how well we know the 66 books of the Bible and how well we know theology. That can help clarifying some things that are not understood as people are journeying through, like, doubt and wrestling with different things. But what people are captivated by faith-wise is the plot line of a person's life and where Jesus comes into that and changes things in a way that other things in your life would not be the same. And so, like, when I think about my life and the story arc of my life so far, I encountered some trauma when I was a kid and in high school, and there was just this realness that was, I think, supernatural. But it's only been one moment in my life where that supernatural feeling of just a spiritual peace came on my life. But it was enough. It was enough that knowing what I knew by the book, I had an encounter that was good enough to keep trusting the book and keep trusting the person that I felt like I encountered in a cave in high school, on a youth ministry field trip, or not field trip, like summer in the sun. But that's a story that in varying ways I've told people, and it's not scripted. Like, I don't tell people verbatim like the same thing, but it's a story that's ingrained in me. So I mean, for you guys, just give 2 minutes. Like, what is like the main story arc of how God has worked in your life? Maybe the moment where faith was just the most real for you. What did that look like for you guys?
I guess mine has always just been following where he leads. And I know it sounds super spiritual, but that comes with a lot of giving up and surrendering as well, because we've all got things that we would like to do in life, or that we'd rather be doing, or that, if my life had gone this way, then I could be this, and a lot of times in my life, it's been the call to surrender, to absolutely give everything up and go where you don't want to go, to do something that maybe you're very unsure of, or you don't know what's going to happen or what's going to be the result. My wife and I left San Diego to go to Cincinnati to go into ministry. That wasn't my first choice.
Abraham and Isaac right there, man.
Yeah, my first choice
Sarah.
was I was going to be a music educator at my old high school. That's what I wanted to do. And God was like, no, I'm going to call you into ministry. And so the call comes, you follow. That's what you do in ministry. And we received incredible blessing from that. I'm not saying that wasn't the case, but it's scary to step out in faith and follow when you don't know everything, or you don't have that safety net that's there. And then it happened again to us. We were in Cincinnati for 16 years, and we were trying to get closer out west to my wife's family. And yet God was like, no, I'm going to move you even further north than you currently live. And again, we just said, okay, God, we trust you, and we're going to follow.
Has Northeast Ohio been the place that God calls people away from their comfort?
Yes.
It really is. We think that in the middle of February. That's for sure.
This is the place I grew up in, guys.
Yep.
God's like, I'm not gonna move you away closer to comfort. I'm gonna keep you right here where
This is exactly where you
Canada
are.
might be on the list.
Yeah,
next.
it's very possible. But it's that following where God leads and just being faithful to that. And God has done so many amazing things in my life. And I've been able to, have incredible relationships with people and really be poured into because I was faithful to that call. It hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows, but it's, at the same time, God's been faithful. God is blessed. So I would encourage people, just be faithful. If he's calling you to do something, do it.
And how many people have you sat down over a meal or coffee or anything, or how many people will you even, and they've heard the story of how maybe not as much reckless abandon as it just is like surrendered to follow, and people that might be in that same boat where there's this uncomfortability and knowing that God can still be very faithful in the uncomfortable. And you've been through it enough that in hindsight, you're like, I know that the uncomfortable still leads to things that are clarity and they're rewarding in ways that you can never imagine. And so every time you get to a fork in the road where it's comfortability or trust me, and you're going to choose the trust me every time because you're like, I know last time the outcome was more than I could ever imagine.
Yeah.
And I think that's just people hearing that from us. I think that's one of the things that will that change people is when they hear that from somebody else and they're going through it. It can help them on their journey.
No, for certain, because hindsight's 20/20, right? So I mean, the first step is always the hardest, and when you step out on faith and you say, God, okay, I trust you, you don't know what you're stepping into, but God is faithful, and He does bless that.
Because my story is not as much like not sure what the decision's going to be and making an uncomfortable decision. Like more of my story is a little bit just on like processing through grief. And I mean, that's still part of my story. And so all these parts of the stories that we have, telling those to people, literally over meals like this. And all of a sudden I think that what we'll learn is some of the things that we've been through are like that God's brought us through. They're just as impactful, even more impactful than some of the movies and books that we've watched. So listen to, read. Donnie?
No, mine is, I think the one phrase that encapsulates it is when, might have been Peter, might have been one of the other disciples off the top of my head. It's not great right now. But he says, to whom else are we going to go? Meaning like, who else are we going to go to? For you have the words of eternal life. In many ways, I have a not unique story. And yet everybody has a unique story of like, and this will all make sense in 2 minutes. But mom's an immigrant.
So we hope.
Yeah. Sheldon's giving the look. Mom's an immigrant from South America. Dad's from the United States. They have me, but then they divorce before I'm a year old. And then there's brokenness that I experienced along the lines of, along with that from a very early age. And what it ended up leading to was, being the chameleon of doing certain things really well to get by. But then for me, the crossroads was in junior high school, where I could see that I was going down a certain road. And I had to make the decision. My family's super culturally Christian. Go to church on Sunday, but that's about it. It doesn't really mean anything. And if you get involved in church, they're like, why'd you do that? You're serving? Like, what are you, like some super Christian? It's the whole thing. But I had a crossroads moment because of some of the people I was hanging out with, some of the things that I was doing. And I don't say that as like the youth pastor who goes on to say, I had a really hard time one time. No, like it's genuine. Like there were some real things to the point where as an adult, I've now had multiple friends that I was friends with in junior high school who either been locked up. I have a friend who I vividly remember regularly playing basketball with all the time as a kid in junior high. And he tragically passed away a few years ago because he was involved in some not great things. And so for me, the way I talk about it with my wife is I have nothing else. Like there is no other comfort. There is no other, well, if I wasn't following Jesus, I would still have a great life. Like I got, my family owns a business and I can go and do this. It's like, no, this is it. Like following Jesus is the thing. Like this is all I got. Sure, there's other jobs and ways to provide for family and those sorts of things, but it's very much what the disciples said. To who else are we going to go to? Like you have the words of eternal life. There's nothing else, baby.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about maybe another movie that sort of slipped my mind, but it was a movie that I don't think most people liked, but I really resonated a lot with it. It was Chris Pratt was in it. It was called Passengers. It was about these people that were traveling to another world, and they're in this hibernated state.
Yeah, space movie. Yeah,
and he, because of some problems on the ship, his pod fails and he wakes up and he's alone. And then he, the story unfolds, and I think Jennifer Lawrence is in it, and he wakes somebody else up, and then it's this grasping for. He's going out in this world to find a new life and a new spot. Not because things are bad. It's because he really just believes that he wants to be useful, and he's tired of things just not being used. And so he is on this quest, really, I would say, and ends up waking up somebody unfairly, this girl. And then the unfolding of life, but he literally has everything. I mean, he's on this amazing thing that it appears like he has everything, but he's all alone. I think part of the aloneness, and I like kind of what everybody said, you've talked about a little bit of trauma and other things, and we all have those stories in our lives. But I've spent most of my life alone, or a lot of my life was alone, or I felt alone, whether it be, and faith was always that thing, like, what else are we going to do? Like, of course, I'm going to choose faith no matter what. That's the one thing that never sort of, I didn't have a prodigal experience. Yes, I've made a lot of bad choices. But it's this this idea, this identity of, I think that is the deep-seated drive of, it was with Jesus and many of the disciples, is that they did this alone. They didn't do it with, I had 50 people behind me. And I think about all the great stories that I like, whether it be Mandela or MLK or whatever else. These people ultimately walk that road
alone.
alone. And when you walk the road alone, and you go back just, Abraham and even Moses and all these people, I think that there's something about that combination and that tension, if you will, that really just resonates with what I think my life is. And it's not because I couldn't do anything else, because I think I could probably do many other things. But I really, this is what gives my life meaning and purpose, and it's worth giving your life to. I say this all the time, and I don't mean any offense by this statement, but I often will say to young people, give your life to something, and Walmart is not it. Not because I have anything against Walmart or if you work at Walmart, but I'm like, you stocking shelves for 50 years is not life. Find something that you can give yourself to that's going to cost you almost everything, and give your life to that. Because I think and it's not just, that's the most Jesus thing to do. It's use your talents, use your gifts, not to just be a, cultural Christian, but to actually do something that matters. And I think that's, even if we bring it full circle to some of the parables I've read multiple times. And for the first time, I've seen new things in the parables and listened to you guys preach stuff in parables. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I've never even seen that. And it's because we need community, we need people, but a lot of times it's a path. Your faith walk is a path you walk alone. And it's you and Jesus, and start with that and work hard towards it and give yourself to it and let things kind of unfold.
Yeah, I agree. This series is what you guys have brought out of some of these parables, and truthfully, we know it's the Holy Spirit. Yeah. He's bringing it out. But I mean, what we've still put in the time and the prep, and when I get to hear you tell these stories, it's like I'm hearing them again for the first time. Even though I grew up in church and heard them all my life, I'm hearing new things. I agree with you on that. That it's like, this is fresh, this is relevant, this is real, and it means something completely different to me now in the stage of life that I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah, this morning you did Wise and Foolish Builders, and it's probably one of the most powerful sermons I've heard. Donnie, a little bit more Titanic-y, but it was great. It was great. You tried hard.
It was mid plus.
You tried hard.
Good.
No, it was good.
It was like the subscription with ads.
If you would like a Sunday to skip, the Sunday you want.
Well, hey, if you haven't skipped this podcast yet, no, we're going to wrap this up. But I hope that the same way that we've enjoyed just the nostalgia of thinking, just reminiscing on some of the stories that impacted us when we were young, or maybe some of the things that we've watched and read and listened to and maybe even seen and witnessed, these stories that have just affected us greatly. So I hope that you guys listening, watching have also felt nostalgia and reminisced on some of those things from just movies, books, stories that you've loved. But ultimately, what I wanted this to come down to is, when we hear these parables, these really they challenge us, and they don't just challenge us to put our feet in the shoes of other people, but they challenge us to see the stories that we're currently living in, and they challenge us to really think about the decisions that we're making along that journey that we're on. So wherever you're at in your story listening, just be encouraged that, your story is very unique. All of ours are very unique, but God has something really powerful through all of our stories, through the trauma, through the grief, through the tension, through brokenness. He uses all of it for really amazing things. So share your story with us. Share some of the favorite books, movies, stories that you've heard with us. Let us reminisce on some of those as well. Put those in the comments, or I don't know, send us emails, hate letters. Send all your hate letters to Sheldon.
My email is sdevries@greenfordchristian.org.
I was trying to be like elders@greenfordchristian.org.
But hey, thanks for reminiscing on some stories with us, and we'll see you next week for maybe something a little special. All right. Bye. Why did I end that like a phone call? I hope you keep that in there. Beep.